Alright, I thought this could be an interesting idea for a video. Let's talk about the new look Philadelphia Eagles secondary. They obviously addressed this in both free agency and the draft, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about what it could be, as obviously last year it was a complete mess. On paper, these are the guys that I would put as potential starters. On the top are the corners, the bottom are the safeties, with one exception that we'll talk about in just a second. But, there are some depth pieces as well. This is not everyone on their roster, obviously, but these are going to be the main guys that we talk about here. You have the two corners who were there last year, Darius Slay and James Bradberry, and we'll get into those in a second. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell were the two players they drafted with quality picks. Their first and second round picks were spent on Mitchell and then DeJean. You also have Reed Blankenship, who was a quality safety last year for them, one of the bright spots of a secondary that didn't do too well. And then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who has had his ups and downs. If you look at C.J. Gardner-Johnson's Pro Football Focus grades, for example, he didn't play much last year. He was banged up, but he's kind of been a consistently, solid safety. I mean, you see that, above average, but not much above average kind of grades if you are into PFF grades. Obviously brings a lot more to the table, with his feistiness, I suppose we'll call it. But, yeah, he's someone who could be a potential starter, but I really want to kind of focus on the corners. First, let's go over here. Let's talk about James Bradberry, who there's just no getting around it. It was rough last year. This play, the playoff game, which this was kind of the big moment of the game. The Eagles had just given up a safety that got them down 9 points, and then this play would happen. And on paper, it's a pretty simple route to cover. Bradberry is covering Trey Palmer one-on-one. You see that when Mayfield takes the snap, he fires it in Bradberry's direction, and for James Bradberry, he's given up a lot of space, and part of that might be when you're going up against a 4-3 receiver and you're a 4-5 corner, and not getting any younger, so might not be quite 4-5 anymore either. Is it possible that you just kind of have to give up that much space? Gives up a free completion essentially on a 2nd down and 4, which isn't ideal, but also isn't the end of the world. However, he also just completely whiffs on this tackle, which was one of about 87 missed tackles that the Philadelphia Eagles had in that game. So that was not ideal for Bradberry. There's no getting around it. He had a rough year last year. And he is someone who has been pretty inconsistent over the course of his career. Part of why the Eagles got him in the first place is they bought low on him after coming off of a bad year with the Giants. The question is kind of simply, are you going to get more from him, or have you given up on him? Heading over to Darius Slay now, play like this, it's zone coverage, and he's going to be in charge of covering this Mike Evans route over the middle. And Slay last year certainly did not have the year that Bradberry had. Bradberry was kind of a mess. Slay was doing his best out there. Wasn't in a great situation, not always a lot of help around him, but I think it's still fair to say he didn't quite have his best year either. You see that when Mayfield takes the snap, he runs the play action, throws over the middle, and you look at how far off Slay is covering right here. Again, it's a little different. It's zone coverage. His job is to not get beat down the field, so it's not like the situation with the Bradberry play. The Bradberry play was just him getting beat or giving up too much space. This time I would say it's Slay maybe covering grass a bit too much, and it's a well-ran route. He's going up against Mike Evans, not Trey Palmer, right? All those things are fair to say, but still, for a guy who at his best has been a lockdown number one corner, this is not a lockdown number one corner type play. But now let's go over here to what is a lockdown number one corner type play. This is going to be Quinyon Mitchell. You see the route that he's in charge of covering, kind of this, more underneath route. When this play begins, you see that right here, Mitchell is reading this play really well. So give up a little bit of space, but again, 2nd down and 12 versus 2nd down and 4, right? Giving up a 5-yard catch here is a good play. But still, even with this little bit of space, watch him jump in front and be able to get that splash play. He gets the interception right there and actually gets all the way into the end zone for a touchdown. So, yeah, that'll get it done. You'll certainly take that. And you almost have to wonder, could, guys like Bradberry and Darius Slay maybe have their jobs be in trouble, not even because of poor play. Maybe they could come in and actually start playing pretty well. It still might not be enough, because we have seen these young corners play really good in college. Like also Cooper DeJean here, where it's going to be a zone coverage play, and you see the area that he is supposed to cover. That, deep right-hand corner of the screen, so the offense is left. A Purdue receiver is going to run a deep route that's going to get into DeJean's zone, but that's not really the way this play is designed to work for Purdue. That's really just a setup route. You're trying to get Cooper DeJean out of the way. That's what you're trying to do. Then you run that route. Hopefully there's a bit of a window and you can come in and, things can work out. That's the way this play is hopefully designed to work for Purdue. Well, when it begins, is it working? A little bit, yeah. I mean, sorry, this is a bit of a blurry still frame. This is the best I could find. For whatever reason, all the still frames are blurry. But you see, DeJean is moving in right here. And to me, I think that's really impressive. The fact that he's able to read this play, come in, and try and make a play. Like, this alone is already an impressive play by him. But this is not where the play ends. The throw is high, and he actually gets the interception there, and then returns it a long way. Doesn't quite get the touchdown, but got pretty close. Like, yeah, these guys are capable of making really good plays. And to me, I almost wonder if when it comes to the young secondary, I could see it just being the better option to have those guys play right away. It's also just one of the things where, it's especially true for the secondary, but it's really true for every position. Depth matters. Having depth is so important, and having multiple guys that can come through and be successful is so important, because secondary is such a weak link position grouping. It might be the most weak link position grouping. Maybe offensive line, but even offensive line, there's things you can do. You can help out if you have a bad offensive lineman. You can double team stuff like this, and Walter's ways for a defense to counter it. There's still ways, right? If you have a bad secondary player, especially like a bad outside corner, there's not really a lot you can do. I mean, you can try to just put a safety deep the whole time, but then it's so easy to game plan around that if you're an offense that you're probably going to give up way more yards, and it's going to kind of ruin your game, essentially. I mean, we saw it in Philadelphia when guys were getting burned. Like, there was just no chance. Like, they just couldn't even have a shot at winning certain games because of how bad the secondary was playing. So, listen, I don't know what James Bradbury is going to do next year. I really don't. I think that he'll probably have a down year, right? Because he just came off a down year, so that's kind of where I'm leaning. But I don't think it's crazy that he could bounce back. We've seen him do that before. I don't think it's crazy. I think Darius Slay could bounce back. We've seen him do it before. But having 4 good corners is honestly like what you should be trying for. Like, the goal should be 4 corners, because the reality is some of them aren't going to be as good. Like, that's just how it works. I'm also interested in, if CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't able to play great, do you have Cooper DeJean play safety? That's an option on the table as well. So there's that versatility, which I find fascinating in the mix. But yeah, as a whole, I mean, my kind of mindset is that it's usually just good to get as many good players as possible at the secondary position, and they really could use it. And like I said, to have some depth pieces as well that now don't have to be corner 3, can be corner 5, which makes things easier. So yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.